This video is for those who are familiar with Bessey sequences. What we're going to do here is introduce card flipping as part of our applications of Bessey sequences. So as you can see here, I have 8 cards of various values, colors, and suits. Okay, so I'll gather these up. So what I need you to do, and I'll have to make the choices for you since you're not here, so just rest assured that you truly would be given a free choice with all of the options I'll give you today. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to deal out the cards into 4 piles. Now what you can tell me is you can say flip the card or just set down as is. So maybe you want that one flipped and that one maybe down like that. Okay, similar thing here. Maybe you want that one flipped. Maybe you want this one flipped, this one over here, and perhaps this one over here. Okay, very good. Now I'm going to just gather up the cards and have you tell me how to stack these as well. How would you like those 2 piles stacked? The bottom on top of the one above? Okay, that is just great. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to perform what's called an LRF. So here you just do a left-right shuffle, and then we're free to flip and stack either one. You want to flip and stack that one? Okay. Now we can do, oops, sorry. Cards are sticking here. We can do as many of these as you like. Maybe you want them not flipped, but just stacked. That's just fine. Okay. What would you like? Oh, sorry. You want this one flipped and stacked that way. Okay, that is just fine. Okay, so what we're going to do also is deal out into 4 piles, and we're going to give you a choice for folding the cards. That's kind of interesting. Folding the cards from left to right or right to left. You're just folding up the cards like the pages of a book. You want to go from left to right? Okay, so you just kind of go like this. It's kind of fun to do actually. And then go like that. And then go like that. Okay, very, very good. Why don't we also, we'll do another one of these. If you've watched any of the videos on Bessey sequences, we know we can do this leapfrog from left to right, right to left. How would you like these flipped and stacked? This one flipped and stacked on top of that one? Okay, that's just fine. Would you like to do any more of those? Just one more? Okay. You want to do the folding procedure. Oh, sorry about that. This time you want to go from right to left. Okay, very, very good. If I can pick up the cards. Okay, and I thought we would just really, really mix these cards. Now what I'm doing here is an alternate Klondike into 2 piles. You're free to flip and stack either one. You want this one flipped and then stacked? Okay. We can do as many of these as you would like. Okay, we truly can. Okay, there you go. Okay, you want this one flipped, stacked. I almost did 4 piles. We can do that as well if you like. Almost kind of dealt out too many pairs, but we can do this. This is just fine. You want to stack from left to right or right to left? Or do you want to do this folding? Or leapfrog for that matter. You want to just do a leapfrog? Okay, that's just fine. And what don't we do? We'll just do one more of those, but you could do as many as the spectator calls for. Okay, folding from left to right. Okay, very, very good. And why don't we do one more, but this will be quite different actually. We're going to deal these out into 4. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to either flip the outside packets or flip the inside packets, and then you can just randomly stack those. Would you like me to work with the inside or outside? Inside? Okay, so what that means is I just go like this. And how would you like me to pick these up? This one first, and then the far right, one in the middle, then this right here. Okay, very good. Now we can just give this a good old mix, a good old Charlier shuffle mix. I have a separate video on the Charlier shuffle if you want to look that up. It's a very powerful little mixing routine. And now I'm going to deal out cards, 4 to you and 4 to me. Okay, and then we're going to look at what is in our piles. Okay, so let's take a look. Well, I guess I should look at yours first. That's just kind of common courtesy, I suppose. Okay, well, how did we do there? Okay, well, I don't know if that means anything to anybody. Let's see. Well, oh yeah, that's right. I have a written prediction off to the side here. Why don't we just see what that has to say for us? Oh, I even taped it to make sure it's very, very secure. And it looks like I used too strong of tape, actually. Okay, so what does it say here? I'll go down here. Each pile will contain, so this is your pile, this is mine, 2 red and 2 blacks. That is true. How, after all of that mixing and key randomization choices being made by you, the spectator, how in the world could I see that this was coming? How? How is that? Now wait a second. I think there's more to this piece of paper here. Each pile will contain 1 of each suit. Is that true? Let's see, hearts, clubs, spades, diamonds, hearts, spades, clubs, diamonds. Oh, wow. We got 1 of each suit. Man, oh man. Don't tell me there's another. No way. 1 pile will have card values that sum to 22, and the other pile will have card values that sum to 34. There is no way on this green earth that that's true. Sums of 22 and 34. Okay, well, what do these add up to? Let's see, 12 plus 9 is 21, 22. Mine add up to 22. There's no way this adds to 34. See, how do we count a king again? Isn't it a 13, I think? Yeah, 13. Plus 4 is 17. 17 plus 10 is 27. 27 plus 7 is 34. 34. Our piles added up to 22 and 34. I sure hope you can explain what's going on, because my mind is blown. Okay, so how did we do this one? And what I'd like to do is not only explain how we did this specific one, but also talk about variations, almost endless variations. Okay, so what I did was I started with a card of each suit. Okay, so on the top half. So let's say that's the top half. And then a card of each suit on the bottom half. Okay, and then you can kind of randomly mix the cards within each set of 4 to make it look like a random kind of collection of cards. Truth be told, you could actually create this little pile impromptu, right? You could have a shuffled deck. So just be aware of that. You don't have to do a bunch of work ahead of time. You can just say, oh, do you have a deck of cards we can use? And all you would do is you would just go through and nonchalantly put out cards into various groups, and all you have to do is just make sure that you're getting, one of each suit, okay? And, try to hide that fact to the degree possible. Don't make a big deal about it, okay? And having different values will help hide that, I think. Especially if you don't do what I almost did. Don't bring them out in the order, in the same order. They're almost the same order. Okay, so 1 of each suit, and then 1 of each suit. Now, if you're going to do it impromptu, of course, you'll have to abandon the 3rd little reveal, right? So this was like a 3-part reveal, remember? 2 reds, 1 of each suit, and then I had already added up the card values, okay? So if you're going to do it impromptu, which is just fine, in some ways more powerful, you will probably have to give up on the cards add to a certain value, okay? So you would just go ahead and, in fact, we can just go ahead and use these if you like. See, we have one of, I just want to make sure I have 1 of each suit so we can change the packet technically. Okay, what I may do here is actually show you my little notes because these notes will make sense to a majority of those who would actually watch this video of more advanced things that you can do with Bessey sequences, okay? So the kind of structure that I started with, so if you think about a Bessey sequence, what structure does it have? Well, it has this one, 1 0 0 1 0 1 1 0. Okay, where the ones in the end will be grouped together and the zeros will be grouped together. Okay, so I have something kind of disturbing looking up here. I have 1 equal to a bunch of different things and 0 is equal to different things. But that's just telling me that one grouping of 4 cards will be these, and there's 1 of each suit, and one grouping of cards will be these. And then I have my 3-stage reveal right there, okay? So if we actually just stack these together, technically what we have is something that looks like this. 1, 1, 1, 1, and then 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, now to be able to do the mixing that preserves Bessey sequences, we'll have to change it to a Bessey sequence at some point, right? The structure. So if you think about it, so what I did was the top 4 are considered to be all equivalent. It doesn't matter what order those are in. So I began dealing out and I said, hey, you can tell me to flip these as is or whatever. Okay, so I put down 1 level. Okay, so that would be like all the quote ones. So this is a set of cards, it consists of 1 of each suit. And then these can be placed anywhere and maybe flipped. Maybe you want that one there and this one here, maybe even that one there. Okay, that's just fine. Okay, so at this point, what we're looking at is we're looking at something like this, right? Because the ones went down first, that's the bottom of each of these pairs. And here is the top of each of the pairs. So, to be able to convert this to a Bessey sequence, I use something that's called the head-to-head, tail-to-tail stacking. Okay, that's all I did. Well, what that means is, okay, the tops are the heads, and then the bottom cards are the tails. So what that means is, top card is the head. That's a quote head as well. So if I go like this and put them together, so head-to-head, and now over here, you can just pick it up. Oh, sorry about that. Now the tails are on the bottom, so you just pick them up and then tail to tail. Okay. Now if you do that, you've actually created a Bessey sequence. A 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0. Now these can be randomly stacked or flipped because look, 1, 0, 0, 1 is symmetric relative to packet reversal. 0, 1, 1, 0 is also symmetric relative to packet reversal. So these can be stacked and flipped in either order, and we haven't changed the fundamental fact that we're looking now at a Bessey sequence. Okay? So what we can do from this point, there's a whole bunch of things we can do, but the thing I did in the presentation is I did an LRF. Well, that just means a left-right shuffle like this, in which we not only randomly stack these, but we flip one of them. Okay, so, and it might be easiest to flip the one that you're stacking. So the spectator can say, okay, pick up this one, flip it, and put it on top of that one. Okay, well, if you think about it, because of the inherent symmetry in each half, it won't make any difference if you flip it and then stack it. So the fact that Bessey sequences are invariant under LR shuffling, it means that they'll be invariant under LRF shuffling. Okay, the kind of shuffling we just did. And you can do as many of these as the spectator calls for. You truly, truly can. So maybe they want this one flipped and stacked in that way. Okay. Now, just think back to the kinds of shuffles we can perform on Bessey sequences without destroying their structure. Another one was we can deal out into 4 piles. Do you remember this? And here we can stack from left to right, right to left. We can also do this leapfrog where you leap over the neighbor and then random stack. Okay? So what I introduce, which works as well, is because we're wanting to flip cards within this presentation, you can actually do a quote folding procedure. So you can fold them like this. Well, if you want to play with a Bessey sequence in which you do this, you'll discover that that action will not undermine the fundamental structure of a Bessey sequence. It's still a Bessey sequence. Okay, so so you can do this folding procedure from left to right. Of course, you can do the leapfrog from left to right or right to left, and now you can randomly flip and stack. Okay, so none of this is hurting the Bessey sequence structure. And I even have one down here which I didn't use, but you could. It's a new one that I've discovered. I call it a mere flip stacking. So what you do here is you just deal out into 4 piles. So what this is telling us is, if we look at the middle 2 and flip one and stack it on top of the other, or vice versa, and then we look at the outer 2 and flip one and stack it on top of the other, this will preserve Bessey sequence. Okay, so all this is saying is, if we go like this, and then like this, or we could have gone the outer one over here could have been flipped and stacked on top of that, and then these can be randomly flipped and stacked. That's going to preserve the Bessey structure as well. So technically that's a new technique that we have not shown because it involves card flipping, and we haven't really done anything with card flipping with these Bessey sequences yet. So that's a fun one to look at. Okay, so that brings us to where I then did an alternate Klondike into 2 piles. Okay, so that works just fine. Okay, so this is where your Klondike shuffle pairs. Now, instead of just randomly stacking these, we can randomly flip and then stack. Okay, and you can do as many of those as you like. We can even alternate Klondike into 4 piles. Absolutely unbelievable, actually. And you have the same choices that we had for the other 4 pile dealing. You can fold from left to right. You can fold from right to left. You can do a leapfrog and then randomly flip and stack either half, or you can do this mirror stacking. Okay, so why don't we do the mirrored stacking again, since that might have been a little confusing. So in some ways, the way to think about the mirror stacking, okay, these 2 are mirrored relative to the center. So if you just kind of like bring them together, like, okay, let me just show you visually what I'm thinking. So they're sitting on the table like this. If you just go like that, same thing here. These were sitting on the table, and you just go like that. You can now randomly stack or flip these halves, okay? And so that won't undermine anything as well, okay? So just realize that we have a Bessey sequence here, okay? And then what I did from there is, there's a couple of options. So you can deal out, deal out into 4 piles again, if you like. Now this time we won't get a Bessey sequence. We're going to convert it to this structure from that one. So think about it. So right now it looks like this. We want it to look like this. Well, there's actually a couple of ways of doing it. So if you notice, the outer one, so 0, 1, 0, 1. So if we flip those 2 outer packets, as far as the labeling here, we'll get exactly that. But technically, you could also just flip the middle ones and set them back down, and then you would just get 0s on top and then 1s on the bottom. So I think I just flipped the outer ones. So I just went like, pick them up. Heck. Okay, I just went like that. We're looking at this structure. Now, what's wonderful about this is these packets can truly be randomly stacked, and we're going to get an alternating structure. Isn't that wonderful? So you can say, well, which one would you like me to pick up first? That one? Okay. Now what? This one? Very good. The right one? Okay. And then the last one goes on top there. So technically we have an alternating structure now. Okay. Now, if you've watched any of the videos on the Hidden Structures channel, you'll know that once you have a cyclic construction here, you can perform as many Chardelier shuffles as you like. Now, a Charlier shuffle is where you do top to bottom, bottom to top, top to bottom. Well, each one of those Charlier shuffles is equivalent to just cutting the packet at some location. And you could even have the spectator do that. After your Charlier shuffle, you can say, well, can you just cut off any number of cards? Okay, very good. Now, neither one of us could possibly know what's on top because you chose it, okay? Well, and now think about it. If this is alternating in some fashion, either 1, 0, 1, looks like that, or 0, 1, 0, 1 repeating. Well, now when I do a left-right, or here up-down, I guess technically, I will be giving you either all of the 1s or all of the 0s. Okay, so these are alternating now. So if I go like this, essentially we get back to where we started in terms of the what makes up each of these piles of 4 cards. They'll consist of 2 red, 2 black, 1 of each suit. And then if you had actually added up the card values, you would know what they add up to as well. So here I kind of randomly chose some. Okay, so you could bring out your prediction. This time just the first 2 apply, right? And so what should be the case, if I haven't messed up, okay, you have no idea how relieved I am to see that. Because there's, places where I could have messed up, but somehow I guess I didn't make any mistakes. So check this out. If you rewind the video, these are the cards that we started with in one group of 4, and these cards were another little packet or group of 4. And among other things, there's 2 red in each, 2 black in each, and then there's 1 of each suit. And then if you had added up their card values and written that on your prediction, you would nail that as well. So you would have a 3-part reveal. Okay? Okay, so that's kind of a quick look at what I did. Now let me just point out some other things you can do. Okay? So we'll go back to the beginning here. Okay? One thing you can do, in fact, we're back to the beginning as far as this is like having 1, 1, 1, 1, 0, 0, 0, 0. Okay, to convert it to a Bessey sequence, you can use Warner Miller's wonderful triangle deal. Do you remember that? So this is where you deal into a triangle like this. Really clever dealing procedure to convert this into a Bessey sequence. And then you stack in opposite order. So just remember opposite order. And then we can actually check it if you would like. So what should be the case is, let's focus on this one. Okay, so this is like 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0. Well, let's focus on the 1s. The 1s would be right here. That ace. But let's just do it like this. I'm going to go like this so that you can see what's going on. Okay, there you go. So now you can see that we have 1 of each suit on that top row and 1 of each suit on the bottom row. Okay, so that triangle deal is a wonderful, kind of visually appealing way of converting from this structure type to a Bessey sequence. In fact, it just occurred to me now, of course, you can introduce flipping as well. So you can say, do you want this just down or flip? Down, just down. What about this one? Flip, down, then flip. Okay, very good. And then you can just stack in opposite order and not make a big deal about it. Just do it. Most spectators will not question that, especially since you started there. It kind of makes sense to start stacking from there as well. Okay, so what this does is it introduces some cards that are kind of face up, face down. Now, right now, they're kind of maybe a little too organized. Okay, so we're looking at a Bessey sequence, and we know that this LRF works just fine. A little hint here, secret here. You don't really want it this structured, by the way. Okay, so if this were to happen, you can say, oh man, that's way too, that'll be easy for us to remember. Why don't you go ahead and flip another one? Okay, and maybe they'll flip this one down. Okay, well that's just fine. Okay, it won't ruin things. It's just that, well, if, let me just show you here so you can see. See, if we'd left it the way it is, what would happen? And then if, like, you flip this, you've lost all your face-up cards. Okay, so that was the reason for just, you know, watching out for something that's too orderly. Okay, so now if we do a left-right, and then kind of flip this, we'll get a bit of a mess. Okay, and then you can do more of the, let's do one more just to kind of get these things heading different directions. Okay, very good. There you go. Now, I want to point out that the LRF works. You can also do what's called an up jog F. So this is where you push perhaps the even position cards forward, strip them out. Now we know from the study of Bessey sequences that an even or odd up jog with random stacking preserves Bessey sequences. So what we can do differently now is we can say, okay, do you want left on right or right on left? And we'll flip it as we stack it. And they might say, I want right on left. So you just flip it and then stack it. Okay, so you can do as many of those, either even or odd up jogs. Okay, so here, these are the even position cards, odd, and then maybe they say flip this one and then stack it. Very good. So you can do as many of those as you like. You can also do another fun one here. You can do a reverse, a random flip ferrule. So what you can do here is you take these, just notice how I'm taking the cards and I go like this, and now if you perfectly interlace them, this would be a perfect ferrule in or a ferrule out. Either one works just fine. That preserves Bessey sequences as well. So you can do as many of those as you choose to. You can almost just do a 50% coding with random stacking. That's just fine. And then, of course, we have things like the first shall be last and the last shall be first, where this is just equivalent to a packet reversal. You can even, you know, the spectator's telling you when to stop dealing and so forth. And then you stack from right to left. First shall be last shall be first. Oh, and then the other thing I forgot to mention, and I could have used it, darn it, in my presentation, is at any point in the procedure, the spectator can say flip, and you flip the whole packet and work from the other side. Okay, that's a powerful option I should have given you, so I apologize for that. So you can randomly flip the whole packet and then just work from the other side. And as we're doing this first shall be last and last shall be first, you can like flip them differently if you like, you know, and then just stack from right to left. Okay, I'm just giving you some ideas. There's many other ways to preserve. Yeah, just look at all of the different shuffles that preserve Bessey sequences, and many of them can be done where you introduce packet flipping, either individual cards or groups of cards. Another one that I haven't really emphasized, but it's kind of a fun one to do, it's just called an in-hand folding procedure. So what you do is you push off the top card, fold it onto the one next to it. Those two get folded onto the third. Those three get folded onto the fourth. Those four get folded onto the fifth. Those five get folded onto the sixth, and so forth. Maybe you lost count there. So that's a folding procedure, and that actually preserves Bessey sequences as well. And then we have this whole list of 4-pile dealing with various stacking that will preserve things just fine. So I want to point out that if you want to really build some intuition for what's going on, if you just work with 4 red and 4 black. So now we're only focused on colors. Okay, so you can think of the red as being 1, so we have 4 ones, and then the black is a 0, 4 zeros. So if you just stack these, you can kind of go through and kind of see what's going on here. So for example, if we just, maybe we'll just do the triangle deal just because it's kind of faster. And then you stack in opposite order. You know, you can readily check, okay, have we observed the Bessey sequence? Well, we have. We have black. Well, this is like a 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 0, 0, 1. Okay, so that is a Bessey sequence. Why don't we do a couple of LRs, Fs. So this is where you randomly stack and flip. Well, that's going to preserve it, right? Because it's like having 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0. Okay, and so you can do as many of those as you like. Okay, so you can kind of test it for yourself and go, oh, okay, I can see that it's happening. Okay, so I have like a 0, 1, and then this needs to be red and then black, which it is. And then this one needs to be black and then red, which it is. Okay, so you can just go through each of these individually, each of the shuffles, and just, you know, see that they're working, like the folding procedure, left to right, folding procedure, just like this. Okay, has that preserved things? Well, let's check. So this is red, black. This one needs to be black and then red, which it is, black and then red. And then over here, we need black and then red. So this needs to be red and this one needs to be black, which they are. Okay, so you can go through and perform each of these individually and do them a number of times. Check to see that the structure has been preserved. That will kind of strengthen your faith in the whole thing. Or it could just be, as you notice, the cards kind of slide around when it wasn't supposed to. So what we did here was, we're currently in this situation, we would like this. So you have a couple of choices. You can flip the middle two or flip the outer two. Now, once you've done that, you can randomly stack, which I mentioned is really powerful. So, and then just to check ourselves, these need to be red, which they are. Red's on top, black's on bottom. Randomly stack these. Now, you can't randomly stack and flip these, right? Because we're going from here to a cyclic construction. Once it's there, you can do Chardonnay shuffles forever if you like. Just like this, okay? And then to deal all of the cards of one kind to you and all of the cards of one kind to me, you're already set up because this is alternating, right? So if I give you this, you can think of that as like red, you know, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, okay? And so it should be that all of these cards here are black, which they are, and all of these cards here are red, which they are, okay? And so the red and black labels can be reassigned in countless ways. Okay, so for the very first performance, being red just meant that you were part of a group of 4 cards where among those 4 cards you had one of each suit. Same thing here. To be black, to be of the second group, each of these, relative to each other, had to consist of one of each suit. Okay, so I think that's probably enough, but working with 4 red cards, 4 black cards is a really good way to just see what's going on under the hood without becoming overwhelmed with the particular card assignments, right? Because if you try to check quickly that a packet of 8 cards is a Bessey sequence relative to these labelings, it's going to be really tedious, right? If these are all these are all, quote, 1s and these are 0s. Whereas if these are all red and black, you can just visually and immediately see if you've succeeded or not. Have you undermined the structure, or have you converted it from one structure type to another that you wanted to? Okay, so did you succeed? Anyway, that's what I wanted to talk about with card flipping that involves Bessey sequences. And as you might imagine, we're just scratching the surface here. We really are. There's so many applications you can come up with, and there's additional shuffles that can be used that involve flipping cards that will allow you to maintain complete knowledge of the organization of the cards, okay? Which, if you think about it, is just mind-blowing, actually. Is mind-blowing. Okay, well, thank you for watching. I just wanted to make this one rather long video, I guess, on card flipping involving Bessey sequences, but play with that and see what kind of creative and fun applications you can come up with on your own. In fact, most of the applications that we've shown you for regular Bessey sequences, as far as their narratives, they can be used in a routine that involves card flipping as well. So if you watch any of the other Bessey sequence videos and you like one of the presentations or performances, then just take that idea and apply it here and take advantage of what we know about preservation of the Bessey sequence under card flipping of certain pairs or card flipping of one of the halves of a Bessey sequence. Okay, anyway, I think that's plenty. So thank you for watching, and take a look at the other videos that deal with Bessey sequences. There's really some fun ones. And I also have some videos that talk about Bessey sequences and quasi-Bessey sequences of larger sizes than just 8 cards. So take a look at that. So thank you very, very much for watching.